Thorns. Thorns are one of those things that almost just kind of make me want to procrastinate because it got thorns on them and you just don't want to grab them. But if you ignore them, they only get bigger. And sometimes you'll just go ahead and snip them off right there where you can and pull down the rest of that vine. But unless you dig down deep and get up that tater, it's just gonna grow another vine. So this year with Led's burn-in challenge, I decided I would do a little garden maintenance, and I took care of some of the vines in my yard. This is actually my third time. There were a lot more than I thought were growing around. And one, I guess, odd thing is to let the Bible tell it that thorns are one of the curses of Adam. And when he was kicked out of the garden, one of the curses was the earth would spring forth thorns. And oddly enough, a lot of the plants around here have thorns, or that have thorns also have heart-shaped leaves. So as I'm managing my garden, it kind of serves as that reminder to dress and keep it, because that really was the original commandment, if you will. And to that end, I try and cycle most of the carbon that I generate on my property here. I promote natural community structures where I can. I like to make use of plants' unique attributes, and I like to make use of plants in multiple ways and find new ways to use plants that I'm familiar with. I try to use water conservation practices, in part because the water bill just does not like having to water plants. The water bill just does not like that. Especially not that sewage impact fee for water that's not going in the sewage, but that's another story. And I like to manage my yard for pollinators and insects and hummingbirds in particular. I would like you to note that I only used a lighter one time in building this fire. There was no lighter fluid or charcoal or anything like that. Now I do use a little bit of lighter wood, but if you got good quality lighter wood, you only need, a couple little splinters really. I think of myself as managing 3 gardens. I got Just Enough, which is down here, Magwood, which is up in my folks' house where I first started gardening, and my mental garden. And for me, managing my garden is a lot like managing my thoughts and ideas in my mental space. And so that kind of outward practice of managing my garden is a lot like my inward practice of managing my thoughts and my well-being. Yeah, I noticed as I pulled the vines that they were covering up and shading out a lot of other stuff. I mean, they had just become a tangled mass and I hadn't noticed. And they were popping up in all these inconspicuous places amongst other stuff that I do prefer, so I didn't notice them kind of creeping in. And then they tend to pull down anything that was reaching up or reaching out or trying to grow up. And so, these vines had to come up out of the space. I live in Zone 8B, so it gets kind of cold here. Generally, it's kind of moderate. So we'll have some years where we'll get deep freezes, and other years where it'll be completely mild. Um, so I like to grow anything that excites my imagination or excites my senses. So up in Magwood, a lot of my plants tend to have sentimental value or are related to various family members in one way or another. But down here, the plants that I selected often have unique flavors or tastes that I enjoy. But in general, all of the plants in my collection have some story behind them that really excites my imagination or excites my senses. So I, I, I really enjoy both of my, or all three of my gardens. I mostly garden for myself, though I occasionally will share what I have with others. Um, but mostly it's for myself and my own nutrition. I like to experiment with different foods and spices, and one way to really enjoy food is to have good fresh ingredients, and there's no better way to do that than to provide those good fresh ingredients for yourself. I have been gardening now for, I guess, about 18 years. Um, but, through phases. And I still consider myself a learner. I'm definitely evolved a lot over the years, and learning different practices and picking up things here and there and putting down others. I don't really consider myself a teacher or a guru or anything like that, more so just sharing my experiences. Uh, and I really do enjoy my space. Uh, and others who have uh, come across it tend to enjoy it as well. So, with this burn in challenge, I was really impressed with how well these palm ribs burned. I don't like to use gasoline, and that one day I looked out, and as far as I could see, I noticed about every surface pretty much was either made for or was maintained by gasoline of some sort, and that just doesn't fit with our climate future for us. But I was really impressed by how well and how quickly those palm ribs made it to a cookable fire, like down to a good coal bed, good coal ash. Normally I burn over wood like oak or pecan, but that takes a lot longer to get down to your cooking fire. But here with the palm ribs, uh, got there much faster, and it's really sustainable because it's basically just the base of the palm frond, and I use the palm frond as a layer in my garden. I am a committed omnivore. That's a blue cheese hamburger. After I had used the fuel, I might as well have benefited from the heat. So I went ahead and made a little snack. C dot, that is my blue cheese burger that I keep telling you about. And I like roasted veggies, and I've really been into roots this winter. So that's just a sampling of different roots, some beets, carrots, and potatoes. But what I really enjoy about vegetables and root vegetables, I see corn there which is an exception, but it was at the market. Um, but I like things that I could just throw on the grill. I wrap in aluminum foil and set on the grill and come back, feel it when it's hot and soft, and say, okay, pull it off, season it lightly, and it's done. And I did use a little bit of turmeric there on the carrots. I find it brings out the flavor just a little bit. But after all, this is about gardening. And now, this year, I'm kind of into building my soil structure a little more. And the palm fronds are kind of the base of my soil structure. In some other projects, people advocate using cardboard or products like that to mulch in or keep down weeds or to act as a retardant layer to keep plants from germinating in between. But for hundreds, if not thousands of years, folks use that thatch to keep rain from out of structures. So I decided to, use a little bit of that old wisdom and allow that as a mulch layer for decomposition in my garden. And I used the palm ribs there to help provide some fuel for maintenance of my garden. And now I have a nice bed of fine potash to use for this 90-day challenge. So I'm ready to go for this golden shovel, and I don't plan on making it easy. 90 days.